And speaking of Republicans, all three of the candidates remaining, they'll be at the Grand Hyatt in New York City tonight for the GOP fundraising dinner. Now, 5 days before the New York primary, Donald Trump, he's holding a commanding lead. Look at those numbers right now. In fact, Kasich's in second place and Cruz a distant third. Now, for his part, Trump also met with Fox's Megyn Kelly at the Trump Tower yesterday, and they called a truce of sorts. The meeting, it was Kelly's idea by her own account, and she said that Donald very receptive. Now, fellow Fox News host Sean Hannity, Greta Van Susteren, they're getting accused of pandering to Trump and going easy on Trump. Furthermore, Karl Rove's super PAC is now warming up to Trump, perhaps seeing that there might be writing on the wall that at the end of the day, Trump could be the last nominee standing. So it doesn't get more establishment, Republican that is, than Karl Rove. So with all that as a backdrop, and also the Trump folks saying today that they see the math to not only get to 1237, if not beyond it by the time they get to Cleveland, there will be a room full of establishment Republicans at the Hyatt tonight, and it will be fascinating how they deal with a guy who wrote The Art of the Deal. Well, our own senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman, he is at the Hyatt with more. Andrew?
And good evening from the Grand Hyatt in Midtown, where in a few hours we're going to get the New York State Republican Gala for 2016. Now, the featured speaker of the evening is Governor Susana Martinez, the governor of New Mexico and the head of the Republican Governors Association. But let's be honest, 5 days before an essential New York primary, the one that's a vital one on both sides, well, the focus is going to be on the three presidential candidates, all of whom are going to be in attendance tonight. And each, it would seem, has something different that they need to accomplish. For Donald Trump, it's going to be rubbing elbows with the so-called Republican establishment, making nice with some people who have been critical of him and his campaign up until now. Can he bridge those gaps between the establishment and his somewhat insurgent campaign? For Governor John Kasich, it's going to be about shoring up whatever support he can 5 days before the New York primary. Can he challenge Donald Trump statewide? Can he challenge in certain congressional districts where delegates will be at stake, particularly on Long Island and in the Hudson Valley? And then for Ted Cruz, it is trying to make up for past indiscretions, if you will, those indiscretions being the use of New York values as a derogatory term as he's gone through here. It'll be interesting to see how all three of the presidential candidates work the room and what they say in their address from the dais tonight. One other factor, the people who are going to be in the crowd. Benefactors giving at least $1,000 a plate in order to get in tonight, and whether they are willing and accepting of some of those candidates and how the support that they can get from the mainstream part of the party, the people who supply the money and supply the energy to behind these campaigns, that's going to be essential for the three presidential candidates tonight. We're going to have much more as the evening goes along, but that's going to do it for now. From the Grand Hyatt in Midtown, Andrew Whitman, FiOS 1 News.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And again, as Andrew mentioned, as they get closer to the event, he's going to get more sound from some of the principals there and even hopefully some of the candidates. I think what will be fascinating that will come out of this is a few different things. If you read, and maybe I'm extrapolating too much, but certainly as it relates to Fox, which is the sounding board for, in many eyes, certainly Republican platforms, there seems to be, if not a détente, at least an opening to see if Trump and the network can both mend fences here, but also if it got to a general and he was the nominee, if they could work together as we've seen in prior administrations or at least prior candidacies for Republicans. Moreover, to me, tonight, Ed Cox, the chairman of the Republican Party in New York, frequent guest of the program, he'd been tepid in his support, certainly, of Donald Trump. And while he won't nominate anyone this evening, it'll be interesting how that will work. It would take one of the biggest political surprises if Donald Trump did not win New York and not win New York handily. As you saw, he's up by 30-plus points here in New York. If he cleans up and the party isn't seen to have a warm embrace in the state of New York, that in and of itself will be a story. So look for how Ed Cox speaks to that end. And then, moreover, how does Donald Trump approach what he has for the past week, which is the party, the establishment, is trying to rig the system? Will he speak differently about the establishment in the room tonight, or will he continue to go there that it's a system that has been geared to stop him? Again, we'll find out where he goes on that as the night progresses. All right, coming up next, though, we'll be speaking with Reverend Jesse Jackson about the black vote and why it is breaking for Hillary Clinton. We are live at Al Sharpton's National Action Network. Dominic's on the ground there. We'll have more on that after this.